Hi, Shell.
And hello to all you other wonderful weirdos witching.
Okay, so the sound is definitely on. I can see it on the screen 100%. We're not doing a repeat of last week. Good. So we're back with Book of Witches. So we have What Dreams May Come by C.L. Clarke. This one I feel like I need more of or similar like it. It is, I don't know, I think the lack of trans mask rep is kind of telling. And I kind of I want more of it, and I want more non-binary rep. I just want to see it. I want to see it, and it was just like quite nice reading it, and yeah. So yeah, we are following Paul, who wakes up and to his phone ringing, and it's his sister, and he's got to come all the way home to deal with his mother, who he's not seen in a long time because it did not end well. It did not end well. He got banished from the family and also from practicing his magic, which his magic in his own family is to do with dreams. He's good at dream magic spells, dream walking, like going into somebody's dream and helping them with whatever. Whether it is they get stuck in a nightmare and he just eases them through it or gets them to wake up. Small things, but big difference. His mother is currently stuck in a dream and has been for a while. And not only that, she's projecting and the neighbors can see it. And so he's convinced to go by the fact that they're not supposed to be found out. If they are found out, it's similar to every single witch hunt we've all known to hate. So yeah, they cannot get exposed, and so he goes and tries to prevent the family exposure of their unique talents. He has to like also hide this from his wife or girlfriend. I can't remember. I think it's wife. So here we go. His sister picks him up, and it's also the first time he's seeing people of the family since his top surgery. And also the joy that there was a description of him just going like that and feeling how flat it was. Actually, that hurt my chest doing that. I can't do that. Yikes. Ha. But it was just little things like that, because he's joking on about it with his sister, who's more accepting than Aunt Tiff. Oh my god. But we'll get there. When he pulls up to the house, there's a man banging on the door and yelling, and he's trying to calm the guy down, but the guy just goes back to banging on the door, and his sister is like, that's a dream, we can't do anything right now. Paul puts his hand right through the guy. Yeah, that it's getting bad. Imagine explaining that to the neighbour. But yes, we then get an introduction to the family, which the guys are all over in one corner and the women are tending to his mother. But they come out of her room and oh god, the disgust on Aunt Tiff's face. Ugh, could do without that. But there's always one parent. There's always one in the family. Yeah, there was also another aunt that is more of an enabler, because she's like sympathetic smiling but not actually, defending the nephew. But yeah, so there's a really horrific like spat between them, and it's just like there's there is a critique I do have because it's not actually addressed, but it is kind of attached to Aunt Tiff's win. And that is because it's women's magic and it's not actually addressed, it's not brought to the forefront. Maybe one of the other blokes in the family could, do what they're doing, but not in the same vein, or I don't know. They just seem very. It didn't address it because it's only mentioned that the women of the family are doing it, which was like my one criticism of this was, are we really getting a transphobic aunt a win? And why are we not addressing it? So we then follow Paul as he just passes his aunts quietly into the room, and there's this description of his mother who's just looks like she just laid down for a nap, is quite clearly stuck in her state. And yeah, so instead of lying next to her, he sits on the floor by the bed and rests his head back against the bed and falls into her dream. The trauma that her subconscious is giving her, I like how there's a explanation on some things are in fact real. There's the infamous uncle who is quite obviously abusive, and he is aware of the abusive uncle. But there was a moment where his mother was holding a baby, and the baby kept dying in her arms over and over again. And there's this question of Paul not knowing if this baby was him as a baby or a different baby altogether. But he cannot make assumptions because, well, he can't make assumptions of this baby in case it's not even real. It's not from the real world, because it could just have been like from the subconscious dragging up something. It could even be the representation that she's lost Paul because of the distance, that an argument between the two has left them with no contact. It could have even been that. I mean, that wasn't in the book, but that was my reading of it anyways. But yeah, so she's watching this happen and she's stuck in a loop where the baby is crying and then the baby is not crying, and she's panicking, trying to revive this Ben, and Paul just tries to get her to stop and get out of that loop. She pushes Paul away a few times, like once or twice, and other times she gets a little too scared of what is going to come through the door, that Paul has to be the one to pull her through it. And one time, trying to escape the uncle, even the running logic in dreams is absolutely on point. I hate running in dreams for this reason. His legs become so heavy that they just like might have been made of metal, and so he's just like, right, I'm gonna fly, gonna sprout wings and apparently talons. Oh, that's cool. Grabs his mom and then flies because what should have been a corridor where it's just going along and then this guy coming down it, the corridor just expands to the length of a football pitch, and so love dream logic when it does that. But yeah, it's really cool seeing the dream logic and effect, and how I love lucid dreaming when it happens. Just trying to remember, oh yeah, I can lucid dream through this. Let's go. And one thing that did shock me was Paul didn't know about his grandmother. That was the woman who he gave plenty, like gave arm shoulder massages, not arm, shoulder massages. Rubbed her shoulders. He rubbed her shoulders. Oh, this is after work still. Oh my god, my brain's ready to sleep. But anyways, after the realization of what his grandmother was doing to his mother, the abuse. Oh, it was kind of like a really horrific realization for him, and he didn't even realize his own reaction was to immediately step in front of his mother to take the blow that his grandmother dealt her. And then he kind of realizes that was a big mistake, because his mother's memory of his grandmother is that of a very powerful witch, and he is in her mind. Oh dear, oh dear. So yeah, he may have messed up a little bit, and he keeps taking these hits off the grandmother and is calling out for his mom to step in, do something, and she's frozen in fear of this woman. And they go on like this to the point where he's regressed back to his childhood state, where he's wearing a really horrific frilly Easter frock. That certainly sounds like hell, because that's what they forced him to wear back when he was a child. And what I did like was eventually his mother did step in, cover Paul with her own body, and decide and to help him. The only way she can is tell him to change his clothes in his mind. Just change the clothes, because his clothes, the more power you have in a dream comes from your own sense of self. If you have sense of self, then you are more powerful. And so Paul changes out of the dress into shorts and a t-shirt, just into what he sees himself wearing as a child. And then they kind of team up, and I love how Paul notices that they have two different ways of fighting, because Paul is more like movie way of magic fighting and just like holding his hand out while a light beam comes from it, whereas his mother is more like subtle in, like it's a dream, she's gonna like control her mind with her eyes closed and just like think of it. And so they defeat the grandmother. Paul wakes up to feet in his face because he's on the floor now. Then he looks up to see Aunt Tiff with a syringe with the dose that would have killed his mother, because if they cannot get the mother out, then it's the only other option is death. And so yeah, he kind of calls out going, no, it's fine, it's fine. Aunt Tiff kind of begrudgingly looks grateful. Oish. But sees his mum's doing okay. Has a little word or two with his sister when his sister and Aunt Lily come in and say, "Oh, you did it!" and tend to the mother, and he just walks right out, gets the bag, gets his suitcase from his sister's car, and calls a taxi. And we are left outside this house with a question: who's gonna turn up first? Somebody coming out the house to stop Paul, or the taxi? And that is where we leave the story. In this, like, he's just saved the family from exposure and his mother's life. And he's just kind of hoping somebody's gonna chase after him, which is heartbreaking. But I wouldn't tolerate it, not if Aunt Tiff's in the room. Yikes. But yeah, I wish the magic would have been addressed, considering if they're only women doing this magic, how is Paul able to do it? I mean, maybe it was supposed to be explained during the sense of self moment, but I don't know. But there was absolutely nothing from the other men of the family. They weren't there. There was like nothing from them. Didn't even have a line. So it was all women and Paul. That was it. So yeah, it was cool for dreamscapes, etc. However, I'm still a little iffy on you need to explain the whole magic if only women are using it and you have a trans man. It kind of means it's less affirming. It's less affirming, that's the word I was looking for. It's less gender affirming when a trans man is using women's magic in a story and it's not actually given an excuse or a loophole, just anything. Anyways, I mean, even a simple line that said, trained from a young age in the magic, because there was that thing of they're trained young so they don't project their dreams and create exposure, but nothing about the boys doing it, unfortunately. So it felt a little less gender affirming than I was hoping. So, yeah. But it was nice having a bit of banter with Paul and his sister in the car about everything, and yeah, and the dreamscape logic was pretty cool. I do like dream logic. But yeah, that was this week's short story. Bye, Shell.
And bye to all you other wonderful weirdos witching.